The Desire Grand Prix, a battle royale type competition where ordinary people become Kamen Riders, fight off mysterious organisms dubbed as Yamatos, all for a shot to make the world with a wish of their choosing. They can ask for anything, such as fame, wealth, revival of a loved one, or even becoming the strongest Kamen Rider on Earth. This is Kamen Rider Geats. Hi everyone, Nuke here, and I'm taking over Geats' channel for this video. I definitely did not trade or anything for her to make this video. If you don't know who I am, I've appeared in a few videos and had my own little video for my birthday back in November, being the Kamen Rider opening tier list. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever introduced myself formally on here. Well, I've been a friend of Geats for almost 2 years now. I've been a fan of tokusatsu in general since I was in middle school. I started off watching Power Rangers when I was in kindergarten, then I discovered Super Sentai, then Kamen Rider, then I was exposed to the world of tokusatsu. Anyway, off that topic, Geats is personally my favorite season I've ever watched, and after it ended, I just wanted more of Geats, which is why I bought their toys. Starting the addiction, I need more. In this video, I'll be going in depth into my own thoughts about this season, from the suits to the plot. I hope this somewhat video essay convinces you to start Geats and fall into the tokusatsu rabbit hole. Do note that this is my first time doing this, so it may be a bit messy, but I'll do my best to make this as enjoyable to watch as possible, with some help from Cheesy. But before we get started, I am using the Kamen Rider wiki to help me out with this review. I will be using it to find certain parts of an episode or other crucial parts, so it'll be linked down below if you want to check it out for yourself. And one more thing, this is your one and only warning that this video will contain spoilers. Let's dive deep into the world of the Desire Grand Prix and Kamen Rider Geats. But before we do that, you may be asking, Nuke, is this Japanese Power Rangers? To that I say, no. So let me give you a brief crash course on what Kamen Rider is. Just like a lot of Western Toku fans, we grew up with Power Rangers, and that show is the American adaptation of Toei's Super Sentai. But Toei has another just as popular franchise called Kamen Rider. This franchise is older than Sentai, and it all started in 1971 with a season called, you guessed it, Kamen Rider. And 50 plus years later, it's still growing strong and one of Toei's best franchises. Kamen Rider usually focuses on a few riders trying to save the world from a huge threat, gaining more power along the way. Each rider has their own gimmick, which makes them unique to their show. For example, Kamen Rider Drive uses toy cars as a gimmick. Kamen Rider Build uses bottles dubbed full bottles. And the fun thing about Kamen Rider and Super Sentai is that every season it's its own story or universe, which means you can start on any season, whichever show appeals to you the most. But there is one thing that all Kamen Riders have in common, which even spans back to the first Kamen Rider. They all fight for justice. And they say, Henshin! Now let's start off with what Kamen Rider is really all about. The toys! As mentioned, I own a few of the Geats toys, and let me tell you, I really love this kind of gimmick. Being called the raised buckles, this allows the rider to access different weapons for them to up their offense against Yamatos. Buckles come in 2 different sizes, the small ones being the weaker but more accessible for the riders, such as claws, a propeller, and water. Yes, water. And it's not the first time we've seen water in Kamen Rider. But the big ones, however, oh boy, that's the main course of the gimmick. There are 5 main ones that aren't a power-up form, those being Magnum, Zombie, Ninja, Beat, and Monster. I love all 5, but honestly Monster is probably my favorite out of them. It's just so goofy to look at. And what's also so cool is that in the story, each big buckle resonates with the rider. Geats gets Magnum, Buffa has Zombie, Tycoon has Ninja, Nago has Beat, and Punk Jack has Monster. I'll be talking more about that when we get to the plot part of the review. But I want to focus on another driver, the Vision driver. It's so goddamn cool to look at. I really love the LEDs on it, and the suits it gives are super slick and really nice to look at. On the topic of suits, the DGP based riders has a simple yet charming suit design. When they just transform with the core ID, it's only the suit and the helmet, so it makes it easy to tell who's who. unless you're Jamishin Buffa. As each buckle is used, the weapon takes over either the top half or the bottom half of the body, basically giving them armor. Only for the big buckles though. The big buckles, I honestly dig the designs. There's nothing special we're gonna say about them, other than the fact that Monster makes you the next Mike Tyson, and Beak gives you a little axe. The supporter suits. I got nothing really. Jin is okay. Beroba and Kekura's final form is just alright. And poor Kyun, he didn't even get a physical suit for himself. Now Division Driver Riders, that's peak design. The fact that their suits has little eyes to represent their whole job as being the game masters and overseeing everything, it's little details like that makes me love the suits. Funny enough, Glare and Glare suits are almost identical. Rigata Mega Suit is basically an extreme version of the suits I mentioned before. But man, I love this color scheme. The red and the black with a little bit of gold makes them so badass, man. And of course, the best design is only used for 3 episodes. Overall, I like the suits for the series. They mix the simplistic suits and the more flashy suits into the season. Let's get into the characters, starting off with the main 4. All 4 characters are gonna get a short and sweet section for themselves, so strap in. We gotta start off with the main man himself, Kamen Rider Geats. Eisukiyo is a 21-year-old guy who's been dominating the Grand Prix for honestly God knows how long. He comes off as this cocky and high and mighty person, but throughout the show, we see his more caring side and turns into someone that always has his allies back. On top of that, he was a very cool-headed main character compared to past main riders. And with the new main character, Hoto from Gotchard, it's quite a change to get used to coming from Ace. His abilities are also nothing to underestimate. He has probably thousands of years worth of fighting experience, and on top of that, he is pretty smart as well. He can manipulate people, which fits to his fox motif. He also has a vast knowledge of history, which basically means he's heard of every single tragedy when it happened.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. Make no mistake, the United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
And I want to add this because the wiki has this under abilities, which is honestly kind of funny. He's a pretty good artist. He drew Punk Jack's helmet in mere seconds, which is again kind of funny if you ask me. Don't tell Cheesy I said this, but he can draw better than she could. Oh. When I watched the first episode of Geats, I was instantly hooked with his character. His intro, his nonchalant entry to the first battle, the first fight scene, him just messing with Keiwa and Neon. He is him. Overall, he's just a fun and tricky character and very lovable. Probably one of my favorite main characters in the entire franchise. Next up is the secondary rider, the Green Tanuki Kamen Rider Tycoon. Keiwa Sakurai is a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. We all know how this ends, and is a selfless and caring person doing it for his sister mainly. But as time went on, and after his first elimination especially, we started to notice him being more selfish, which despite getting back his motivation, leads to his downfall as a person. His abilities are pretty underwhelming comparing him to Ace. He's fast and has some combat knowledge. But before he gained Bujin's sword, he's kind of a bit weak if you put him side by side with Geats. However, he does have some impressive skills like swordsmanship and being able to cook. I like him as a secondary rider. He's in a way the opposite of what Ace is, but unfortunately, in my opinion, I believed he was outshined by the quaternary rider and Buffa. The thing I'm befuddled with is that there are some people out there who didn't like Keiwa's emo phase during the last leg of Geats. It was kind of obvious he was going to break at some point. I liked Keiwa. He's a solid secondary with some good intentions, which gets absolutely thrown out the window in the near end. Now let's get into our tertiary of the season. Making history, she is the first ever tertiary... No, she isn't. I want to throw this out. Reiwa has been getting a lot of girl power thrown into their series. Honestly, I commend them for it. We've had 3 female tertiary riders, and the season after, we got our first female secondary, Kamen Rider Majade. But we're not here to talk about Gotchard. Geats. Neon is a very upbeat girl whose desire is to find love. Being a well-known social media influencer, she can never go a day without getting recognized, and she can't go anywhere without her trustful bodyguards, John and Ben, who we've never saw in the rider form, practically had no other appearance after Buffa defeated them. Damn you, Takahashi. The thing with Neon, she's part of this really rich family, in which other people's perspective is practically a dream to be in. However, she was sheltered for basically her entire life, granted that she was kidnapped and her parents decided to shelter her and cut the outside world from her. I really like how they did her development, from a girl who's looking for love to someone who realizes who she truly is and that she's always worthy of somebody's love. Great tertiary writer and very memorable, but the damn dance, oh my god, if I hear that song one more. Spare me, please! Kamen Rider Buffa. He started out as a cold-hearted and stern dude, but as the season went on, he started to become more comfortable with the other main riders. His desire is to become the strongest rider as he witnessed the death of one of his best friends. This traumatic event made him think every rider is selfish and evil, leading him to want to destroy all of them. I really like Buffa. He's this cold and badass character, personality I kinda dig in Kamen Rider, and his development was really great as well, being probably one of the better developments in the series. When he was introduced in episode 1, he was obviously seen as Geats' rival and was a big douche, and I was hooked to this character. During the JGP arc, he became more badass in my opinion, but that outfit was not it. It made him look like an emo punk rocker. His abilities are nothing to look over as well. Since he's a veteran to DGP, he has knowledge on combat, specifically close combat. He is a great character and one of my favorites in the season. Now let's head on to the supporting cast. Kamen Rider Punkjack. I liked his rock background, but unfortunately after his death and revival, he didn't really do anything to be remembered as. So basically from his first appearance to his death, he was a completely good character. Starts off as this quiet substitute with no personality, then doing a complete 180 to a hyper and cocky character, which is something I was very much behind. Kamen Rider Nudge Sparrow. Douche, dickhead, selfish, and a complete asshole. He's an okay character. Kamen Rider Hakubi. This is Keiwa's sister. Nothing really much to say other than she's very caring for Keiwa, which she will be the reason why there's a major personality change for a certain character. You guess which one? Sumeri. She's the navigator of the DGP, basically meaning that she helps overlook the games with the game master and calling out people that are breaking rules and whatnot. I really like her character. Her whole serious but cute nature is really the big reason why I like Sumeri. Also, the actress.
What the wait, huh?
Jin was alright. He's just a very dedicated supporter to Geats. I really thought he was going to turn on Geats at some point, but to my surprise, he didn't. Betaba was a very good villain. Her cheery and her whole douchey attitude really made me hate her, but that's what villains are supposed to do. Kekeda is maybe my favorite supporter. He has this really aggressive way of talking, and in his last battle against Keiwa, it's probably one of my favorite moments from him in the entire series. He also said pleb at some point, and I really find that funny. Kyun, he only really had one memorable moment in my opinion, and that's his whole fight scene with Neon. From a cold, anonymous person to a caring ally is kind of the best way I can describe him. Other than that, he appeared in the end of the series with Neon, implying that probably he's maybe her Prince Charming in a way. All four are good characters, however I do wish Kyun had more development because all he did was write letters to talk to her for like half his time in the show. Now the others. Mary was a comedic person in Dark Secret, Dapon's emo, Kayla was wholesome old man, Lopo is family caring woman, Neon's parents were douchey and Loki didn't deserve an apology from her. All three game masters were fine. Except Rami, he's great, I love him. Especially that worm scene. It's probably one of the only scenes from Geats that actually got attention from outside the toku community. And that's all the characters. Wow, that took so long. I can finally get to the plot now.